The text from my mother said, "Good night, baby. Love you," with 3 heart emojis. It came through at 9:52 p.m. 5 minutes later, my phone lit up with a bank alert that made my blood run cold. Account balance $73. I blinked at the screen, certain I was reading it wrong. I had to be reading it wrong, because yesterday morning, that account held $8,215. 3 years of my life. 3 years of working double shifts until my feet bled. 3 years of eating the same meal every single day. 3 years of living in an apartment where I could hear gunshots at night. 3 years of saying no to every invitation. Every date. Every moment of joy. Gone. All of it. Gone. My hands were shaking so violently I almost dropped my phone. I refreshed the app once. Twice. 3 times. The number didn't change. $73. 4 withdrawals had been processed. Yesterday, while I was at work saving lives, someone was destroying mine. And the timestamp on that last withdrawal, 9:47 p.m., 5 minutes before my mother sent me a goodnight text with hearts. I couldn't breathe. The walls of my tiny studio apartment were closing in. This couldn't be happening. This couldn't be real. But it was real. It was devastatingly, crushingly, soul-destroyingly real. Before I take you deeper into this nightmare, if you've ever been betrayed by the people who were supposed to love you most, if you've ever given everything only to be left with nothing, if you've ever questioned whether you matter to your own family, hit that like button right now and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me I'm not alone in this. Because right now, sitting here with $73 to my name and a heart full of broken trust, I need to know someone out there understands. Now, let me take you back to the beginning. Because the story of how I ended up here, how my own mother could look me in the eye and smile while robbing me blind, starts long before that bank alert. It starts with a little girl sleeping on a pull-out couch in a dining room, learning that her value was measured only by what she could provide. I grew up as the middle child in a family of 5 kids in a small 3-bedroom house in Atlanta, Georgia. The house was always too small, too loud, too chaotic. My older brother Marcus had the entire basement to himself because he was the oldest, and because, according to my mother, boys needed their space. My 2 younger sisters, Keisha and Janelle, shared 1 bedroom. My younger brother Devin had the other bedroom. Again, because boys needed privacy. And me. I slept on a pull-out couch in what was supposed to be the dining room for most of my teenage years. When I complained about it, my mother looked at me like I had spit in her face and said I was being ungrateful for having a roof over my head at all. That should have been my first clue about how things were going to go. My father left when I was 12. I remember the day vividly because it was my birthday. He had promised to take me to Six Flags, something he had been promising for months. I woke up early, put on my new outfit that I had been saving for weeks, and waited by the door with my backpack. I waited for 3 hours before my mother finally came into the living room, her eyes red and swollen, and told me Daddy wasn't coming. He wasn't coming that day. He wasn't coming ever again. He had left in the middle of the night with a woman from his job, and he had cleaned out their joint bank account on his way out the door. My mother fell apart after that. Not the kind of falling apart where you cry for a few weeks and then slowly pick yourself back up. The kind where you check out emotionally and never really check back in. She worked 2 jobs, sometimes 3. And I'm grateful for that, because we never went hungry and we always had lights and water, but she was never present. She was a ghost in her own house, moving through rooms like she was sleepwalking through life. So I stepped up. I was 12 years old, and I became the de facto parent for my siblings. I made breakfast before school. I packed lunches. I helped with homework. I broke up fights. I put bandages on scraped knees and wiped away tears when someone was mean at school. When Marcus started getting into trouble at school, I was the one who went to parent-teacher conferences because my mother was always working or too tired to deal with it. When Keisha had her first period and was terrified, I was the one who helped her because Mama was working a double shift and didn't get home until after midnight. Nobody asked me if I wanted this responsibility. It was just assumed that I would handle it. And I did. Because what else was I supposed to do? Let my siblings suffer, let everything fall apart. The pattern was set early. I was the responsible one, the reliable one, the one who sacrificed so everyone else could have what they needed. High school was a blur of trying to keep my grades up while essentially raising 4 other kids. I wanted to join the debate team because I loved arguing and analyzing things. But the debate team met after school, 3 days a week. And I had to be home to watch my younger siblings. I wanted to go to prom, but we couldn't afford a dress for me because Marcus needed new shoes for basketball and Keisha needed braces. My mother cried when I brought it up, said she was doing her best, asked me why I wanted to add more stress to her life. So I didn't go to prom. I stayed home and watched Disney movies with Janelle and Devin while everyone else was out having the quintessential teenage experience. I got into nursing school on a partial scholarship, which felt like a miracle. But it also felt like a trap because it meant staying local, living at home, and continuing to be the built-in babysitter and surrogate parent. I had dreams of going to college somewhere else, somewhere far away where I could figure out who Sarah was when she wasn't responsible for everyone else's well-being. But my mother looked at me with those tired, sad eyes and asked me how she was supposed to manage without me. Who would make sure Devin did his homework? Who would drive Keisha to volleyball practice? Who would keep Marcus from completely going off the rails? So I stayed. Nursing school was brutal. The coursework was intense. The clinical rotations were exhausting. And I was still trying to keep my household running. There were nights I stayed up until 3 a.m. studying for an exam, only to be woken up at 6 a.m. by Devin having a nightmare. There were days I showed up to clinical rotations so exhausted I could barely stand. But I pushed through because failure wasn't an option. I had to succeed. My family was counting on me. The financial exploitation started small and grew so gradually that I didn't see it happening until I was already drowning in it. My first real paycheck, after graduating nursing school and passing my boards, was a moment of pure joy. I had made it. I was a registered nurse making decent money. And for the first time in my life, I felt like maybe I could breathe. Maybe I could start building a life for myself. That lasted about 6 hours. My mother called me crying around 8 p.m. the day I deposited my first paycheck. The power company was going to shut off the electricity if we didn't pay the overdue bill immediately, and she needed $350. I remember feeling this strange mix of pride that I could help and resentment that my first paycheck was already spoken for, but I pushed down the resentment because my mother was crying, and my siblings needed electricity. And what kind of selfish person wouldn't help their own family? I drove to my mother's house with a check. She hugged me so tight I could barely breathe, told me I was her blessing. Herr Angel, the only one who really cared about this family. That felt good. For years I had been invisible. The workhorse who kept everything running but never got acknowledged for it. And now I was the hero. I was valued. I mattered. It's funny how validation can become a drug. The next month, my mother called again. This time it was the water bill. $400. The month after that, Marcus had gotten into a car accident and needed $800 for the deductible on the insurance. The month after that, Keisha needed money for a school trip that she had apparently known about for 3 months, but nobody had bothered to mention to me until 3 days before the payment was due. Every single request came with tears, with stories of struggle, with reminders of how much my mother had sacrificed for us after Dad left, with subtle implications that if I really loved my family, I wouldn't hesitate. I wouldn't ask questions. I would just help. And I did help. Over and over and over again. I moved into a studio apartment 6 months after I started working. It was in a neighborhood where you could hear gunshots at least twice a week, and the person in the unit above me had screaming matches with their boyfriend every single night. But it was cheap. Only $550 a month. Which meant I could afford it and still have money to send home. My mother cried when I told her I was moving out. Not happy tears. Devastated tears. She said I was abandoning the family. She said she couldn't believe I was being so selfish. She said, "Fine, go ahead and live your own life." While everyone here struggled without me. Then she hung up on me. I spent the next 3 days feeling like the worst daughter in the world. I called her a dozen times and she didn't answer. Finally, Marcus called me and told me that Mama was heartbroken, that she felt like she had lost another person she loved, that I was making everything harder for everyone. So I promised to come over every Sunday for dinner. I promised to still help with money whenever they needed it. I promised to be available anytime anyone needed anything. Only then did my mother start taking my calls again. Only then did I stop being the villain of the family story. That should have been another clue. But I was too deep in it to see the pattern. My best friend Tanya came into my life during my second year at the hospital. She was a travel nurse who had signed a contract for 6 months. But she ended up loving Atlanta and staying permanently. Tanya was everything I wasn't. Confident, direct, unapologetic about her boundaries. She had grown up in foster care, bounced around between 7 different homes, and had learned early that if you didn't protect yourself, nobody else would. We bonded over late-night shifts in the ICU, over terrible vending machine coffee, over the dark humor that healthcare workers develop as a coping mechanism. She was the first person I had ever really opened up to about my family situation. It started small. She noticed I never went out with the other nurses after work. She noticed I brought the same sad lunch every single day. She noticed I drove a car that looked like it should have been in a junkyard 10 years ago. And one day, about 3 months after we met, she just asked. We were sitting in the break room during a rare slow moment on the floor. I was eating my usual meal prep chicken and rice while she had Thai takeout that smelled amazing. "Can I ask you something personal?" Tanya said, watching me with those sharp, observant eyes of hers. I shrugged. "Sure. Why are you always broke?" I felt my face get hot. "I'm not broke. Sarah, your scrubs are falling apart. You pack the same lunch every day because you can't afford to buy food here. Your car sounds like it's about to explode every time you start it. You work more overtime than anyone else on this floor. So I know you're making decent money. So where is it going?" I looked down at my food. "Family stuff." "What kind of family stuff?" And then, because I was tired and stressed, and because Tanya had this way of making you want to tell her everything, I started talking. I told her about the constant requests for money, about how I was basically supporting my mother and my siblings, about how every time I tried to save money for myself, something came up that required me to drain my account. Tanya listened without interrupting. And when I finally stopped talking, she was quiet for a long moment. "How much have you given them in the past year?" she finally asked. "I don't really keep track." "Ballpark it." I did some mental math, and the number made me feel sick. Maybe 18,000. Maybe more. Tanya's expression didn't change, but I saw something flash in her eyes. "And how much have they paid back?" "It's not about paying back. It's family." "Okay. 10 francs question. When was the last time anyone in your family did something for you, not ask you for something? Actually do something for you?" I opened my mouth to answer and realized I couldn't think of a single example. Not one. "When was the last time your mother asked how you were doing? Not what you could do for her, but actually asked about your life?" Again, I had no answer. "Sarah, I'm going to say something. And I need you to really hear me. Your family is using you. They're not loving you. They're not appreciating you. They're exploiting you." I felt anger flare up. "You don't know them. You don't understand." "You're right. I don't know them. But I know the pattern, because I've seen it 100 times. There's always someone in the family who gets designated as the caretaker, the responsible one, the ATM, and everyone else takes and takes and takes until there's nothing left. My mother raised us alone after my dad left. She sacrificed everything for us. And that was her job as a parent. That's the bare minimum. That doesn't give her the right to financially drain you for the rest of your life." Tanya leaned forward. "Let me ask you this. Do you think you'll ever be able to stop giving them money? When things get better for them? And when will that be? When will there not be an emergency? When will Marcus suddenly become responsible? When will your mother stop having bills?" I didn't have an answer for that either. "This isn't going to stop, Sarah. Not unless you stop it. And you deserve to have a life. You deserve to save money. You deserve to have nice things and go on vacations and not eat the same meal every single day." I felt tears starting to form. "I don't know how to say no to them." "Then you need to learn. Because if you don't, you're going to wake up 10 years from now and realize you've given them everything and you have nothing. No savings. No retirement. No life of your own. Is that what you want?" "No." "Then something has to change." I didn't speak to Tanya for 2 weeks after that conversation. I was angry at her for saying those things, for making me question my family, for making me feel like the victim when I was supposed to be the helper. But her words stayed with me. They haunted me during every shift. Every time I transferred money to my mother's account, every time I looked at my own bank balance and felt that familiar anxiety, the worst part was that I knew, deep down, that she was right. Things escalated in ways I never could have predicted. Marcus, who had been bouncing between jobs for years, suddenly announced that he was going to start a business. A clothing line. He had big dreams about becoming the next big streetwear brand. He just needed startup capital. $50,000 ought to do it. When I told him I didn't have $50,000, he looked at me like I was lying. When I showed him my bank statement showing less than $4,000 in savings, he got angry. "How do you not have money?" he demanded. We were at Sunday dinner at my mother's house, and everyone was staring at us. "You're a nurse. You make good money." "I have bills, Marcus, and I help the family." "You help the family. But you won't help me with this. This is a real opportunity." "Sarah, I could make something of myself, but I need family support. I need you to believe in me." My mother jumped in. "She's right, Marcus. That's a lot of money." But then she turned to me with that look, that specific expression that I had learned to dread, disappointment mixed with martyrdom. "Although, if your brother is serious about this, maybe we could figure something out." "Sarah, didn't you say you were saving for a new apartment?" My stomach dropped. "Mama, I've been saving for 3 years. I need to get out of that neighborhood." "I understand, baby. But think about it. This could change Marcus's life. This could change all our lives. If his business takes off, we'd all benefit. Sometimes you have to invest in family. I don't have $50,000. But you have some savings. Maybe you could co-sign a loan for him with your good credit and a nursing job. You'd qualify." "No." The word came out harder than I intended. The room went silent. Everyone stared at me. "Excuse me." My mother's voice was ice cold. "I'm not co-signing a loan for $50,000. That's not reasonable." Marcus stood up, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. "I can't believe you. I asked you for help one time, and this is what I get. One time, Marcus. I've been helping you for years. I paid your car insurance for 6 months. I paid your rent twice. I gave you money for that other business idea that never happened. Those were small amounts. This is different. This is real. Those small amounts added up to thousands of dollars that I never got back. So you're keeping score now. That's what family does. Keep score. That's not what I'm saying." My mother stood up too. "I think what Marcus is trying to say is that he's disappointed. We're all disappointed. We thought we could count on you. You can count on me. I've been the only one you can count on for years. But co-signing a $50,000 loan is insane." "So we're insane now." My mother's voice was shaking. "I raised you better than this. Sarah, I raised you to care about family, to help your brother when he needs it. But apparently all those values I tried to instill in you didn't take. Mama, please don't do this. Don't do what tell you the truth. You've changed. Sarah, ever since you moved out, ever since you got that job. You think you're better than us? I don't think that at all. Yes, you do. You come here every Sunday and judge us. Judge this house. Judge how we live. Judge Marcus for trying to make something of himself." I felt like I had been slapped. "I have never judged any of you. You don't have to say it. We can see it on your face. You think you're so much better because you went to nursing school and got a good job. But let me remind you of something. Sarah, I'm the reason you got through nursing school. I'm the reason you had a place to live and food to eat while you were studying. So yes, maybe I do expect a little gratitude. Maybe I do expect you to help your brother the way this family helped you." The guilt hit me like a wave. She was right. They had helped me. I had lived at home during nursing school. I hadn't paid rent. My mother had fed me, but then I remembered that I had also been the one making dinner for everyone. I had been the one doing laundry. I had been the one taking care of my younger siblings. I had been working part-time at Walmart the entire time. And most of that money had gone to household expenses anyway. "I'm not saying I'm not grateful," I said quietly. "I'm just saying I can't co-sign a $50,000 loan." Marcus grabbed his jacket. "Forget it. I don't need this. I don't need her." He looked at me with something that looked like hatred. when I make it, when my business blows up. Don't come around asking for anything." He stormed out, and my mother followed him, leaving me standing in her living room with my younger siblings, staring at me like I had just committed an unforgivable sin. Kaisha, who was 17 at the time, was the one who spoke first. "Why won't you help him? Sarah, you have money. I don't have $50,000. Kaisha, but you have some. You always have some when Mama needs it. That's different. That's for emergencies. This is an emergency. Marcus needs this." Janelle, who was 15, chimed in. "You're being really selfish. Sarah, family is supposed to help each other." I looked at Devin, who was 13 and had always been the quiet one. He wouldn't meet my eyes. I left without finishing dinner. I drove home crying so hard I had to pull over twice because I couldn't see the road. When I got home, I had 12 text messages. 3 from my mother saying she was disappointed in me. 4 from Marcus calling me selfish and saying I had betrayed him. 2 from Keisha saying I had ruined Sunday dinner. 1 from Janelle with just a sad face emoji. 1 from my Aunt Linda, my mother's sister, saying she had heard what happened and she couldn't believe I would treat my own brother that way. And 1 from a number I didn't recognize that turned out to be my mother's church friend, saying she would pray for me to find compassion in my heart. The only person who didn't text me was Devin. I called Tanya sobbing. She came over immediately with wine and listened to the whole story. When I finished, she was quiet for a minute. Then she said, "You know this is abusive." "Right. They're not abusing me. They're just mad. Sarah, they're ganging up on you, manipulating you with guilt, and trying to pressure you into taking on massive financial responsibility for a business venture that will almost certainly fail. That's financial abuse. That's emotional manipulation. That's not love. They love me. They're just disappointed. Do they love you, or do they love what you can do for them?" I didn't answer because I didn't know anymore. The Cold War lasted 3 weeks. 3 weeks of nobody from my family contacting me except to send occasional guilt-laden messages. 3 weeks of me feeling like I was being torn in half, questioning whether I had made the right choice, wondering if maybe I should have just co-signed the loan. Then my mother called. Not with an apology, with a crisis. "Sarah, I need your help." Her voice was thick with tears. "What's wrong?" "It's Marcus. He's in the hospital." My heart stopped. "What happened?" "He got into a fight. Some guys jumped him outside a club. He's okay. Mostly. But he has a broken nose, some bruised ribs, and they want to keep him overnight for observation." "Did you call the police?" "You know we can't do that." I did know. Our family had an inherited distrust of police, and Marcus had priors from stupid stuff when he was younger. Calling the police would potentially make things worse. "Is he okay? Physically?" "Yes. But Sarah, this is serious. The guys who jumped him, they say he owes them money. A lot of money." My blood went cold. "How much?" $15,000. "What, how?" "I don't know all the details. Something about a bet that went wrong. He promised to pay them, but he doesn't have it. And they said if he doesn't pay by next week, they're going to hurt him worse. Or hurt someone in the family." "Mama, we need to go to the police." "No, you know we can't. These aren't the kind of people who the police can help with. We need to handle this ourselves." "How are we supposed to handle this?" There was a long pause. "I was hoping you could help. You want me to give Marcus $15,000. It's not giving. It's saving. It's keeping your brother safe. It's keeping all of us safe. They know where I live. Sarah. They know about Keisha and Janelle and Devin." The guilt was suffocating. If something happened to my siblings because I refused to help, I would never forgive myself. "I don't have $15,000. "Mama, you have savings. You told us you've been saving." "I have about 7,000. That's a start. I can maybe get 2,000 together. If we can give them 9,000 and promise the rest in a couple months, maybe they'll accept that." Every alarm in my head was going off. This felt wrong. This felt like a trap, but it was also my brother. My family. People who might get hurt because of his stupidity, but people I loved nonetheless. "Let me talk to Marcus first." I said. I went to the hospital the next morning. Marcus looked rough. His face was swollen, his nose clearly broken, and he had bruises everywhere. But when I walked into his room, he wouldn't look at me. Marcus, I need you to tell me the truth. What happened? Mama already told you. I want to hear it from you. He sighed, wincing as he did. I made a bet. A stupid bet on a basketball game. I was sure it was going to hit. It didn't. I owed money. I couldn't pay. They came looking for me. $15,000 on a basketball game. It was supposed to be a sure thing. There's no such thing as a sure thing. Marcus, I know that now. This is gambling debt. You have a gambling problem. I don't have a problem. I just made a bad bet. This isn't the first time. You've had gambling issues for years. Can we not do this right now? I'm in a hospital bed. Sarah, we have to do this right now because Mama wants me to give you $7,000. My entire savings. To pay off your gambling debt. Marcus finally looked at me. I'll pay you back. You've said that before. You've never paid me back. This time is different. How? How is this time different? Because I've learned my lesson. I'm done gambling. I swear. You said that 2 years ago when you borrowed $3,000. I mean it this time. I could have died. Sarah, those guys were serious. I'm not messing around with this stuff anymore. I wanted to believe him. I really did. But I had heard it all before. If I give you this money, I need you to get help. Real help. Gamblers Anonymous. Therapy. Something. I will. I promise. And you need to pay me back. Even if it's $50 a month, you need to start paying me back. I will. I looked at my brother, bruised and broken in that hospital bed, and I made a decision I would regret for a long time. I gave him the money. I gave my mother a check for $7,000. She cried and hugged me and told me I was saving the family. Marcus called me from the hospital and thanked me. Promised again that he would pay me back and get help. For about 2 weeks, I felt good about my decision. I had helped. I had potentially saved my brother's life and kept my family safe. The money was gone, but at least it had gone to something important. Then Keisha posted photos on Instagram from a shopping trip at Lenox Mall. Designer bags. New shoes. The caption read, "Blessed to have a mama who spoils me." Then Janelle posted photos from a new iPhone unboxing. Early birthday present from Mama. Love you. Then I saw my mother's Facebook post about the new furniture she had gotten for the living room. Finally upgrading after so many years. Thank you, Jesus, for blessings. I felt sick. I called my mother. Where did you get money for all this stuff? What stuff? The shopping trip, the new phone, the furniture? Sarah, I don't like your tone. You told me you needed $7,000 to help Marcus. You said it was an emergency. It was an emergency. And we handled it. So you handled it with $7,000. And then somehow had money left over to go on shopping sprees. Don't you dare question how I spend my money. I've been struggling for years. And I finally had a little bit to do something nice for this family. Are you really going to begrudge us that? That was my money. Mama. My savings. That was money you gave to help the family. What I do with it is my business. You lied to me. You said it was for Marcus's gambling debt. And some of it was. But we worked out a different arrangement with those people. We didn't need all of it. So you just decided to keep the rest, without telling me. I don't have to explain myself to you. You gave that money freely. It's not yours anymore. But you lied about what it was for. I didn't lie. I needed help with a situation. You helped. End of story. No. Not end of story. You manipulated me. You made me think Marcus's life was in danger. His life was in danger. We handled it. Now you're mad that we handled it and had some money left over. You're impossible to please. Sarah, nothing is ever good enough for you. She hung up on me. I sat in my apartment, staring at my bank balance. $572. That was everything I had left in the world. $572 after 3 years of constant saving. I called Tanya again. I was crying so hard I could barely speak. They lied to me. They took everything. And they're not even sorry. Tanya came over and stayed with me all night. We didn't even talk much. She just sat with me while I cried and raged and finally accepted the truth I had been avoiding for years. My family didn't love me. They loved what I could provide. And as long as I kept providing, they would keep taking. What do I do? I finally asked around 3 a.m. You set boundaries. Real ones. And you stick to them no matter what. They'll hate me. They already don't appreciate you. What's the difference? She was right. I had been bending over backward for these people for years, and all I had gotten was used and manipulated and drained. I don't know if I can do it. You can. And I'll help you. That conversation happened 4 months before the day I discovered my bank account had been drained. 4 months that I spent trying to be strong, trying to set boundaries, and mostly failing. I told my mother I couldn't give any more money. She cried and told me she understood, that she would figure things out. Then 2 weeks later, she called with an emergency. The car had broken down, and she needed $1,000 for repairs. If she couldn't get to work, she'd lose her job. If she lost her job, they'd lose the house. I gave her $800. All I had at the time. I told Marcus I couldn't lend him any more money until he paid back what he owed. He agreed. Seemed understanding. Then a month later, he called, saying he had a court date for an old ticket and needed $500 for a lawyer or he'd go to jail. I gave him $300. Every time I tried to set a boundary, there was a crisis. Every time I said no, there was an emergency. And every emergency felt real enough that I couldn't risk not helping. But I did start saving again. Secretly this time. I opened a new account at a different bank. One that nobody in my family knew about. I had them send statements to Paperless. I didn't mention it to anyone. Not even Tanya at first. Because I was paranoid that somehow the information would get back to my family. Every paycheck. I transferred whatever I could to that account. Sometimes it was just $50. Sometimes I could manage $200. Slowly, painfully, the balance started to grow. $500, $1,000, $2,000, $5,000. Every time I checked that balance, I felt a mixture of hope and guilt. Hope that maybe I could actually escape this cycle. Guilt that I was hiding money from my family, even though I knew logically that I had every right to save my own money. $8,215. That's where I was at. It had taken me almost a year of incredibly disciplined saving, of working double shifts, of saying no to every social invitation, of eating the same meals every day. But I had done it. I had saved over $8,000, and nobody in my family knew about it. I was planning to use it as a down payment on a small condo I had found in a decent neighborhood. Not fancy, but clean and safe with actual working heat. I had filled out the application. I was waiting to hear back. For the first time in years, I felt like maybe my life was about to change. Then I saw the bank alert. At first, I thought I was looking at the wrong account. But no, it was definitely my new secret account. The one that nobody was supposed to know about. 4 withdrawals. $8,142 gone. I called the bank immediately. The representative told me that the withdrawals had been made with a valid ATM card and PIN. I told her that was impossible. I had the only card. Nobody else should have been able to access the account. Let me pull up the details, she said. I could hear typing. I show here that a joint account holder was added 3 months ago. Barbara Jenkins. Barbara Jenkins. My mother. That's impossible. I never added her. According to our records, you came into the branch and filled out the paperwork in person. I've never been to that branch. I do everything online. Can you hold, please? I held for 10 minutes. My heart pounding. My hands shaking. The representative came back on. Ma'am, I'm looking at the signature card. Did you perhaps come in and not remember? I've never been to your branch. Can you email me a copy of that signature card? I can do that. The email came through while I was still on the phone. I opened it. The signature sort of looked like mine, but it wasn't quite right. The S in Sarah was different. The way the J connected in Jenkins was wrong. That's not my signature. Someone forged it. I'm going to need you to come into a branch and file a fraud report. When can I get my money back? These investigations typically take 30 to 60 days. In the meantime, I'm going to freeze this account so no further withdrawals can be made. 30 to 60 days. I had $73 to my name, and my rent was due in 2 weeks. I called my mother as soon as I hung up with the bank. She answered on the third ring. Her voice bright and cheerful, like nothing was wrong. Hi baby, I was just thinking about you. Mama, what happened to my savings account? There was a pause. Just a fraction of a second too long. What do you mean? My account. The one at First National Bank. Someone added you as a joint account holder and withdrew almost all my money. Oh. Her voice changed. Became defensive. Yes. What did you do? I can explain. Sarah. Please do. Marcus got into some trouble again. He owed some people money. Serious people. They were threatening him. I felt like I was in a nightmare. Like I was reliving the exact same conversation from months ago. How much did he owe? $8,000. For what? Does it matter? He needed help. You weren't answering your phone. Ipanikad. So, you forged my signature to add yourself to my account and stole my money. I didn't forge anything. I went to the bank and they helped me. And I didn't steal. You're my daughter. That money is family money. No. Mama. That was my money. My savings. That I earned. That I hid from you because I knew this would happen. You hid money from your family. How could you do that? Because of this, because every time I save anything, you take it. Watch your tone with me. I am still your mother. How did you even know about that account? There was a pause. Marcus mentioned he saw you at that bank once. Marcus was following me. Don't be dramatic. He happened to see you. He mentioned it to me. I got worried about why you would need a secret bank account. I needed a secret bank account because my family steals from me. We don't steal from you, we're family. Family helps each other. Family doesn't forge signatures. Family doesn't take money without asking. Family doesn't lie and manipulate and make you feel guilty every time you try to have a life. You have some nerve talking to me like this. After everything I've done for you, after I raised you by myself when your father abandoned us, after I worked too, 3 jobs to keep a roof over your head and food in your mouth. This is the thanks I get. The guilt tried to rise up like it always did. But this time I pushed it down. I was done. You want thanks, fine. Thank you for raising me. Mama, that was your job as a parent. But that job ended when I became an adult. It ended when I started paying your bills. It ended when I gave you tens of thousands of dollars over the years. I've thanked you. I've paid you back. I've sacrificed my entire life for this family. And it's never enough. It's never going to be enough because you don't want a daughter. You want an ATM machine. How dare you? How dare you speak to me this way? You're selfish and ungrateful and I'm ashamed to call you my daughter. Good, be ashamed. Because I'm done. I'm done giving you money. I'm done being manipulated. I'm done sacrificing everything so Marcus can gamble and you can buy furniture and my sisters can get designer bags while I eat rice and beans every day in a studio apartment with no heat. Fine, don't come crawling back to me when you need something. I haven't needed anything from you in years, but you've needed everything from me and I finally see it. Mama, I finally see that you don't love me. You love what I can do for you. And I'm done being used. I hung up before she could respond. My phone exploded. Texts, calls, voicemails. From my mother. From Marcus. From Keisha and Janelle. From my Aunt Linda. From cousins I hadn't talked to in years. Everyone had an opinion about what a terrible person I was. Nobody asked if I was okay. Nobody asked my side of the story. Nobody cared that I had just lost everything I had saved. Except one person. Devin texted me around midnight. Just 3 words. Are you okay? I called him. He answered immediately. Sarah, I'm okay. Are you okay? Yeah. I'm sorry about everything. It's not your fault. Devon. I know. But I'm still sorry. I heard Mama on the phone with you. I heard what she did. Did you know about the account? No, but I'm not surprised. She talks about you when you're not here. About how much money you have and how you don't share enough with the family. I've given her thousands of dollars. I know. I see it. But she acts like it's never enough. Like you owe us something. Hearing him say it, my 13-year-old brother who still lived in that house. seeing it clearly when I had been blind to it for years. Something broke inside me. Not the same break from earlier. A different kind. A break that felt like freedom. Devon, I need you to understand something. I'm not abandoning you. I'm not mad at you or Keisha or Janelle. But I can't keep doing this. I can't keep giving away everything I have. I know. And I get it. I don't blame you. If you ever need anything, real help, you call me directly. Okay, don't go through Mama. Call me. Okay. I love you. Devon. I love you too. That conversation gave me the strength to do what I did next. I blocked my mother's number. I blocked Marcus's number. I blocked everyone who had sent me hateful messages. I kept Devon's number active. And after some thought, I kept Keisha and Janelle's numbers unblocked but muted their conversations. They were still teenagers, still being influenced by my mother. But maybe someday they would understand. I filed a fraud report with the bank. I filed a police report, which felt like the ultimate betrayal of family, but was necessary to get my money back. I closed every account and opened new ones at a different bank with multiple layers of security. I changed all my passwords. I set up 2-factor authentication on everything. I called out sick from work for 3 days because I couldn't function. I barely ate. I barely slept. I just sat in my apartment going through years of memories, reframing everything I thought I knew about my family through this new lens of understanding. Every birthday where I got nothing but a card while my siblings got gifts, I had told myself it was because I was older and didn't need things. Every holiday where I cooked and cleaned while everyone else relaxed, I had told myself it was because I was good at it. Every crisis where I handed over money, I had told myself it was because I was the responsible one. But none of that was true. The truth was simpler and more painful. I had been assigned a role in my family, and that role was to give until I had nothing left. Tanya came over on day 3 and found me in the same clothes I had been wearing since the bank incident, surrounded by takeout containers because I had stopped meal prepping, staring at my phone. Okay, that's it. You're coming with me. I can't. I need to figure out what to do. You've figured out what to do. You cut them off. Now you need to figure out how to move forward. She physically pulled me off my couch, made me shower, drove me to her apartment, and called 2 other nurses from our floor. Jennifer and Marcus, the good Marcus. As I had started thinking of him to differentiate from my brother, they staged an intervention that saved my life. Jennifer was 10 years older than me, had 3 kids, and had been through a brutal divorce from an emotionally abusive husband. She understood toxic family dynamics in a way that most people couldn't. I want you to do something for me, she said. I want you to tell me what your family has done for you. Not what they're supposed to have done as basic human decency, but actual above and beyond acts of love and support. I thought about it. Really thought about it. They raised me. I started. That's baseline parenting. What else? They let me live at home during nursing school, while you cooked, cleaned, and took care of your siblings, essentially earning your keep and then some. What else? I couldn't think of anything else. Now tell me what you've done for them. The list was endless. Money, time, emotional labor, sacrifice after sacrifice after sacrifice. You see the imbalance here, Jennifer asked gently. I nodded, tears streaming down my face. Marcus good. Marcus had been quiet, but now he spoke up. My father was an alcoholic, functional for years, then not functional at all. He was also my best friend. We watched football together. He taught me to fish. I loved him. He paused. But he stole from me, twice, forged my name on credit cards, cost me thousands. And when I cut him off, my whole family turned on me. Said I was abandoning him in his time of need. Said a real son would stick by his father no matter what. What did you do? I asked. I stuck to my boundaries. I didn't talk to him for 5 years. He died 3 years ago, and I don't regret it. I grieve for the father I wished I had, but I don't regret protecting myself from the father I actually had. Loving someone doesn't mean letting them destroy you. That hit me like a physical blow. I don't know how to stop feeling guilty. Therapy, Tanya said firmly. You need professional help to unpack all of this. I can't afford therapy. Your insurance covers it. I checked. And even if it didn't, you'd figure it out because this is what you should be spending money on. Not your mother's furniture or Marcus's gambling debts, your mental health. She was right. They were all right. I made an appointment with a therapist the next day. Dr. Lillian Chen was a small woman in her 50s who specialized in family trauma and codependency. She had kind eyes and an ability to see through my defenses that was both terrifying and exactly what I needed. Our first session, she asked me to tell her about my family. I gave her the sanitized version. She listened without interrupting. And when I finished, she asked one question. Do you think your value as a person is tied to what you can provide for others? I opened my mouth to say no, then stopped, because the answer was yes. My entire sense of self-worth was built on being useful, being needed, being the one who solved everyone's problems. Yes, I whispered. That's what we're going to work on. Because Sarah, your value as a human being has nothing to do with what you can do for anyone else. You matter simply because you exist. I cried through the entire first session. And the second, and most of the third, Dr. Chen gave me homework. She asked me to make a list of things I wanted in life that had nothing to do with other people. Not things I wanted to do for my family, not ways I wanted to help people, things I wanted for myself. I sat with that assignment for 3 days because I genuinely didn't know what I wanted. My entire life had been about what other people needed. I had no idea what I needed. Finally, I wrote, I want to live in a safe apartment with heat and windows that actually open. I want to be able to afford fresh vegetables instead of just rice and chicken. I want to go on a vacation. I want to have hobbies that have nothing to do with work. I want friends who don't require anything from me. I want to not feel guilty for spending money on myself. I want to be able to save money without fear. I want a relationship where I'm valued for who I am, not what I can provide. I want to stop feeling like I owe everyone everything. I want peace. When I showed Dr. Chen the list, she smiled. It was the first time I had seen her smile. That's beautiful, Sarah. And every single thing on that list is achievable. But it requires you to maintain your boundaries. Can you do that? I don't know. Let's work on it. The next few weeks were the hardest of my life. My bank investigation was moving slowly. My family was relentless with flying monkeys, people I barely knew, calling or texting to tell me how wrong I was. My mother showed up at the hospital where I worked twice, and security had to escort her out both times. Marcus found out where I lived and came to my apartment at 2 a.m., pounding on the door and yelling about what a selfish person I was, until my neighbors called the police. I had to get a restraining order against my own brother. That was the moment I realized how truly toxic my family situation had become. Normal families don't require restraining orders. Normal families don't show up at your workplace to harass you. Normal families don't steal thousands of dollars and then act like you're the villain for being upset about it. But through all of it, I had a support system for the first time in my life. Tanya checked on me every day. Jennifer brought me meals when she knew I wasn't eating. Good Marcus helped me set up security cameras at my apartment. My coworkers at the hospital rallied around me, making sure I was never alone on breaks in case my mother showed up again. And slowly, painfully, I started to heal. I threw myself into therapy and into work. I picked up extra shifts not to save money for my family but to save money for myself. I started rebuilding my savings, $50 at a time. I bought myself new scrubs, the nice, expensive kind. I got my car fixed properly. I bought fresh flowers for my apartment every week because they made me smile. I started saying yes to social invitations. I went to a concert with Tanya. I joined a book club with Jennifer. I went on a hike with some people from work. I started remembering what it felt like to have a life that was mine. The bank investigation took 7 weeks. 7 weeks of living in limbo, not knowing if I would get my money back. 7 weeks of surviving on my small emergency fund and working as many hours as they would give me. When the letter finally came saying that the withdrawals had been deemed fraudulent and my money would be returned, I sat on my apartment floor and sobbed. Not sad tears. Relief. Vindication. Hope. $8,215 was deposited back into my new secure account. I stared at that number for a long time. Then, I made a decision. I wasn't going to use it to buy an apartment. Not yet. First, I was going to do something I had never done before. I was going to take a vacation. I booked a week at a small beach resort in Florida. Nothing fancy, but clean and right on the ocean. I had never seen the ocean in person. I had never taken a vacation that wasn't visiting family or didn't involve sleeping on someone's couch. When I told Dr. Chen, she grinned. That's exactly what you need. When I told Tanya, she hugged me so tight I couldn't breathe. That vacation changed my life. Not because anything dramatic happened, because for the first time in 28 years, I existed without being needed. I woke up when I wanted. I ate what I wanted. I read books on the beach. I went swimming. I watched the sunset. I existed purely for myself. And it was the most peaceful week of my life. I came back to Atlanta, renewed. Ready to really start living. 3 months after cutting contact with my family, I ran into my sister Keisha at Target. I literally froze in the middle of the home goods aisle when I saw her. She looked different. Tired. Older. She saw me at the same moment, and her eyes widened. For a second, I thought she might walk away. Instead, she walked toward me. Sarah. Keisha. We stood there awkwardly, both of us unsure what to say. How are you? She finally asked. I'm good. Really good. You? She shrugged. Okay. School's hard. Work is exhausting. You know, are you working now? Yeah. Part-time at Target? Mama said I needed to contribute to the household now that you're not helping anymore. The guilt tried to rise up, and I pushed it back down. I'm sorry you have to do that. It's okay. Actually, she hesitated. Can we talk? Like really talk? We ended up sitting in my car in the Target parking lot for 2 hours. Keisha told me everything that had happened since I cut contact. How my mother had increased the pressure on everyone else to contribute money. How she had taken the money Keisha earned and given half of it to Marcus. How she constantly talked about me like I was the worst person in the world, while simultaneously seeming lost without my financial support. She filed for bankruptcy last month. Keisha said quietly. What? She got in over her head with credit cards. I guess without you bailing her out constantly. She couldn't keep up with payments. I had no idea she had credit card debt. She never told you because she knew you'd tell her to stop spending money she didn't have. But she just kept swiping, thinking you'd eventually come back and fix it. I can't fix it. Keisha, I can't keep sacrificing my life to fix everyone else's problems. I know. And I'm starting to understand that. She looked at me with tears in her eyes. You look good. Sarah. Like really good. Happier than I've ever seen you. I am happier. I miss you. I miss you too. But I can't come back to how things were. I know. And I don't blame you. She took a deep breath. Can I ask you something? Of course. How did you do it? How did you get strong enough to leave? Therapy. Friends. And I finally accepted that loving someone doesn't mean letting them drain you dry. You can love people and still protect yourself. We exchanged numbers. Real numbers. Not the ones that were connected to my old accounts or anything my mother had access to. We made plans to meet for coffee the following week. Over the next few months, Keisha and I rebuilt our relationship on new terms. She was still living at home. Still dealing with the chaos of our family. But she was starting to set her own boundaries. She opened a bank account my mother didn't have access to. She started saying no when asked for money she couldn't afford to give. She was learning. 6 months after cutting contact, I moved into a 1-bedroom apartment in a nice neighborhood. Hardwood floors. Big windows. Natural light. A small balcony where I put plants. Real plants that I kept alive. I bought actual furniture. Not just hand-me-downs or cheap stuff from Facebook Marketplace. I hung artwork on walls. I made it mine. My housewarming party was small. Tanya. Jennifer. Good Marcus. A few other friends from work. And Keisha. My younger sister looked around my apartment with wonder in her eyes. This is really nice. Sarah. Thanks. It's home. I want this someday. My own place where nobody can take my stuff, or my money, or my peace. You'll get there. Just keep saving and keep those boundaries strong. She hugged me. Thank you for showing me it's possible. I started dating 7 months after cutting contact. His name was David, and he was a history teacher at a middle school near the hospital. We met at a coffee shop when he accidentally grabbed my latte by mistake. He apologized profusely, insisted on buying me a new one, and we ended up talking for 2 hours. On our third date, I told him about my family situation. I had learned in therapy that I needed to be honest about my past, but I was terrified he would run. He didn't run. He listened. And when I finished, he took my hand. My mom's an alcoholic. Has been my whole life. I love her. But I only see her a few times a year because every visit is exhausting and usually ends with her asking for money or starting drama. Setting boundaries with family is brutal, but sometimes it's necessary for survival. We understood each other in a way that was rare and precious. 1 year after cutting contact, my mother sent me a letter. It came to my new apartment, which meant someone had given her my address. Probably Keisha, though I couldn't be mad about it. I stared at that envelope for 3 days. Part of me wanted to throw it away unopened. Part of me needed to know what it said. Finally, I opened it in Dr. Chen's office so I would have support if it was bad. The letter was short. 2 handwritten pages. In it, my mother didn't exactly apologize, but she acknowledged that she had made mistakes. She said she had been overwhelmed after my father left and had leaned too heavily on me. She said she was working with a financial counselor to get her affairs in order. She said she missed me and would like to try to rebuild our relationship if I was willing. "What do you want to do, doctor?" Chen asked. "I don't know. Part of me wants to see her. Part of me thinks it's a trap. What would it take for you to feel safe meeting with her? Clear boundaries. Public place. Time limit. And the understanding that if she asks for money or starts guilt-tripping, I leave immediately. Those all sound reasonable. What does your gut tell you?" My gut told me to be careful but open. So I texted Keisha and told her I would meet my mother for coffee. 1 hour. A public coffee shop. Just talking. The meeting happened 2 weeks later. My mother looked older, grayer, smaller. She hugged me, and I let her. But I held something of myself back. We made awkward small talk for the first 20 minutes. She asked about my job. I asked about her health. Neither of us addressed the elephant in the room until I finally said, "Why did you want to meet?" She took a deep breath. "I've been going to therapy. The bankruptcy court required it as part of my plan. And my therapist has been helping me see some things about myself and how I treated you." I waited. I was drowning after your father left. 5 kids. No money. No help. And when you started working, you became my life raft. And I held on too tight. I asked for too much. I stopped seeing you as my daughter and started seeing you as the solution to all my problems. Tears were forming in my eyes despite my best efforts to stay detached. And then I convinced myself it was okay. That I deserved it because I had sacrificed for you when you were young. That you owed me. But that's not how it works. She looked down at her coffee cup. You don't owe me your whole life because I did the bare minimum of being a parent. Why now, I asked. Why are you saying this now? Because hitting rock bottom financially made me see what I had been doing. Without you to bail me out, everything fell apart. And I realized that I had built my entire life around taking from you, not just money. Your time. Your energy. Your peace. I took everything and gave nothing back. I needed you. I said, my voice breaking. I needed a mother. But all you ever wanted was a bank account. I know. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Sarah. We talked for another 40 minutes. It wasn't a fairy tale reconciliation. I didn't trust her completely. But it was a start. I told her my boundaries. No asking for money. Ever. No using my siblings to manipulate me. No showing up at my work or my home unannounced. No guilt trips. If she violated any of those, I would walk away permanently. She agreed. Now, 3 years after the day, I saw that bank alert. I can tell you that life is complicated. My relationship with my mother is tentative but slowly improving. We meet for coffee every few weeks. She's genuinely working on herself. It's not perfect, but it's honest. Marcus is 2 years sober. He's in Gamblers Anonymous and working a steady job. He paid me back $500 last month. I told him he didn't have to, but he insisted. We're not close, but we're civil. Keisha graduated from community college and is at a 4-year university now, studying social work. She wants to help people set boundaries and escape toxic family dynamics. I've never been more proud of her. Janelle and Devin are both in college now. We have a decent relationship. They come to my apartment sometimes for dinner, and I help them with homework when they need it. But it's different now. It's balanced. I'm still with David. We got engaged last month. We're planning a small wedding next year. I'm learning what a healthy relationship looks like, what it means to be with someone who gives as much as they take, who supports my dreams instead of draining my resources. I still see Dr. Chen monthly. Therapy isn't something I'm ashamed of anymore. It's maintenance. My apartment is filled with things I chose, things that make me happy. My savings account is healthy. I'm planning a trip to Italy next spring. I have hobbies. I have friends. I have a life that's mine. And now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever been in a situation where you had to choose between family loyalty and your own well-being? How did you handle it? What boundaries have you had to set with people you love? Drop your stories in the comments below. Your experience might be exactly what someone else needs to hear right now. And if this resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe because we need more honest conversations about the complicated reality of family relationships. You're not alone in this struggle, and your story matters.